Nominated for Best Community College Radio Station in America by the Intercollegiate Broadcasting System.
Everything you want to hear from the voice of Cerritos College, WPMD on the net, where people make a difference.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Falcon Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob Flores, here at Cerritos College, located in Norwalk, California. At this time, I would like my guest to please introduce himself.
Sure. My name is Gil Hurtado. I'm a council member in the city of Southgate.
Perfect. Tell me about your duties as a council member.
Well, you know, it's kind of interesting position to be in. You're responsible first and foremost for the safety of the people in the community. And I guess the fact that my family lives there, it's even that much more important. I want to make sure that it's safe for people to live in our community and our visitors as well. We have, of course, budgets that we have to concern ourselves with to make sure that we're able to provide services to the people in the community within the budget. And it's not just like police protection. We've got to make sure that we try to make our city where people are happy living there. So we provide parks and other services that people desire.
And when do you guys meet?
We have our meetings on the second and fourth Tuesday of every month, and anybody can come in. There was a time where our council chambers could not hold the amount of people that were going in because of all the stuff that was going on that didn't seem to be too kosher with people. But nowadays, it's pretty mellow. We might get 10, 15 people that show up to our meetings, but, you know, we get the business done. We go out into the community, meet with folks that are having concerns about how things are being done in their neighborhood, whether it's potholes or what have you. And we try to address them to the best of our ability.
And, for our audience that may not be aware, when it comes to, like local government type of meetings and so forth, there's like all this technical language type stuff like yay, nay, motion to, and all that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, well, again, we try to make it as simple for people as possible. I've had situations where I jokingly tell staff, quit using those 4 syllable words in front of me, okay? Try to keep it simple. And again, the reason is that attorneys talk lawyerly. They use these big fancy words that a lot of us don't, it's attorney jargon, and they know what it means. And so we try to make it simple so that everybody can understand it. We want to make sure that the people are listening to whatever projects are in front. We're talking, engineers, they have a language all their own. And we try to make sure that everybody has a complete understanding of where we're taking action on. So it's a great question. I really think that people, if they go to a council meeting and we're discussing some subjects, they should be clearly informed. We need to be as transparent as possible. So again, I think we want to keep it as simple as possible.
Now, one of the things I like to also get from our audience is, tell me about what was life as a student like for you. For example, in high school, were you involved in any activities?
Interesting question. So I'm 55. Let me see. Can I go back that far? Yeah, I guess I can. I went to Garfield High School in East LA. I was a very good student, and I'm saying that using my own judging system here. But I was usually getting A's and B's. I was the first student at Garfield High School that took AP Calculus. I don't know if you've seen the movie with Mr. Escalante, the calculus teacher. I was the first junior to take calculus. I took that in 1977. The calculus instructor retired that year, and they made Mr. Escalante the new calculus teacher. And I became a student aide to him. And so I had a great time with that. And now knowing his accomplishments and knowing just how far he was able to take the AP calculus in our high school was amazing. It's phenomenal how he can motivate people to want to take a class that is considered to be very difficult. It was a lot of fun. I graduated with honors. I participated in baseball, not for the school, but in the neighborhood park. I was very good for in my area. I was a good defensive player. Had a very good arm from as I threw from the outfield. Believe it or not, I was actually an altar boy for a short period of time, and that was interesting in itself. I did that as a favor to my dad. My dad was very religious, and so he asked if we wanted to do that. I said, not really, but if that'll make you happy, why not? But that's pretty much what life was like in East LA. I wanted to go to college. I actually applied to USC, UCLA, and Cal State LA. I was accepted by all three. Unfortunately, as every student nowadays know, it's very expensive, and so if you don't have the money and it runs out fast, your ability to stay in school makes it very difficult. So I had to drop out after a year, but I was doing fairly well. I got married rather young, but I have no regrets over that. I got married at the age of 20. My wife and I have been happily married now for 35 years. And interesting story with her is I've known her since we were two. My mom and her mom used to put us together in the same crib. So I jokingly say I've been sleeping with my wife since we were 2 years old. But we're very happy. And at some point, my wife said, "Look, I don't want it to be where you didn't go to college because we got married." So she encouraged me to go back to school. I went to East LA College, and I got my AA degree in liberal arts. I now retired from my other job as a supervisor for the U.S. Postal Service, and my wife and I are playing with the idea that now that my kids have grown up, maybe I should go back to college because I want to, consider the possibility of going into teaching. I'm still rather young. I'm going to be 56 in April. So I might go back to college and work on a degree and then try to get a credential to go into teaching.
And when you return to school, sometimes people can struggle with certain subjects. Let's say, for example, math. Lots of us, we struggle with mathematics for sure. What were some of the techniques you used, some strategies to take on those type of courses?
I found that anybody can take any course and be successful if they really, really push for it. And again, I took, when I was at Garfield High, I remember taking chemistry. And I studied and worked so hard, and the best I can do was get a D. And as a senior, I had already taken all the courses I needed to take, and I didn't feel comfortable with it, so I appealed for the opportunity to take the class over again, and they gave me the opportunity to do so. And I went back, and I pushed even more, and the best I can do was up it to a C. But I'm very proud of this C because I worked very hard for it. So how that applies to your question is that I think that if I were to go to college now, since I've been away from school for a very long time, it will probably not be easy. But I feel that if I really pushed myself and I studied and I did everything I had to do and asked all the right questions, I think I can do it. I really think college is something that everybody should push themselves for. And I love the fact that Cerritos College is available to people in our neighborhood, because when people graduate from a 4-year college and they went to a community college first, it doesn't say you graduated from USC or UCLA and then with a little asterisk, but you went to a community college. So I'm glad that these community colleges are available and affordable, and kind of lead to that 4-year degree. So I think I can go back and do a pretty good job.
And after high school, when you did want to pursue your major, what was the, how did you know you wanted liberal arts?
So what I did is because I was already supervising for the U.S. Postal Service. I already had a job that paid good salary, good benefits. I didn't really need any direction as to what I wanted to take, so I didn't really choose anything. So I went in and I spoke to a college advisor, and I said, look, all I really want to do is get a degree that gives me the opportunity to go to a 4-year institution, but at the same time, nothing really with any direction. In other words, not toward engineering, not toward the medical field, not toward anything specific. I just wanted something that kind of covers everything, but it's just kind of sort of to show myself, nobody else, that I could have gone to college and done well. And so after speaking to this individual, he kind of said, look, well, we have a program here where you can get your degree in liberal arts, and then you can go and get a degree later on if that's what you choose to, but liberal arts kind of covers all the basics. And I said, I think that's for me. And so that's what I wanted, and it covered everything. I took courses in sociology, they were phenomenal, psychology, which I love. Of course, I had to take chemistry again, which I hate, but I took it again. I think this time I got a B in it. Don't check my records in case I'm wrong, but I did pretty well. I also I took some math classes, and no, it was real good. So the selection of liberal arts was more of I took that because that was something that would cover just about general subjects with really no direction. It was just for myself. And even with that liberal arts degree, I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy that I went through that. And making the dean's list a few times while being a husband full-time, a father full-time, supervising for the U.S. Postal Service full-time. And then I run the largest youth organization in Southgate. It's baseball, softball, and basketball leagues. I love sports. I think that they open up a lot of opportunities for young people. It teaches a lot of very positive values, teamwork, working in trying to improve every single day. It teaches people to lose, and again, what I mean by that is this: if you look at people who apply for a job, there might be one position open. You'll have a couple hundred people applying for it. So one person's going to get a job, and a lot of people are not. And so a lot of people sometimes, they don't take that too well. But getting involved in sports, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and you have to know how to deal with it. And that loss comes with good experiences, because even in a loss, you can gain some valuable knowledge that later on you say, well, wait a minute, where did I go wrong? How can I be better tomorrow? I got to work at it today. And so when you're going to college, you're getting the necessities that prepare you for that. Well, the same thing with the sport. And that's what I try to get out of the program. And we've been very successful. On my way here, I actually ran into these two young ladies who play softball here at Cerritos, who played softball for me last year. I'm the coach for the Southgate High School softball team. And so some of the girls that went through our program are now playing here at Cerritos College.
Great. We'll be right back after these public service announcements.
Hi, I'm Bill Lavallee from the Country Rock Hour.
I'm Asami Chavis from Misfits 101. My name's Dan from the Bernie Nation.
You can help support WPMD.
And it's easy. Just visit our website,
And how long have we been? I have all
WPMDonthenet.com.
day, by
Once
the
you
way.
get there, click on the Amazon.com banner near the top of the page.
That'll take you to Amazon.com.
Then, just
Somewhere
shop
around
as
the
you always
15.
do. WPMD will get a percentage of your purchase.
And so will the Cerritos College Foundation.
And it won't cost you anything extra.
It's a great way to help
That's another
WPMD.
great
And get
thing
all those
about
great
the
bargains at the
course
same
we had the
Remember,
course, they had
just
us
go
try
to
practice it.
WPMDOnthenet.com.
Click on the Amazon.com
Something
banner
down
and
here that
start
was
shopping.
blood.
It's your way to
that's
make a
fine.
difference
This thing
for the
that people
place where
sometimes
people
use
make a
to
difference.
put to, like,
WPMD
their
on the
laptop
net.
or,
And thanks for
their
helping us
phone
out.
to
Thanks a
listen
lot.
to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We truly appreciate it.
The need for blood is constant. From accident victims and premature babies to cancer patients and those with blood disorders, everyday heroes like you can help save up to 3 lives with just one blood donation. Be a hero. Donate blood. Make your appointment today. Visit redcrossblood.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS. A public service announcement from WPMD on the net, where people make a difference.
I'm Tiffany. I have some tips for you on how to quit smoking like I did. First, I did some reading about it.
Great message.
I found a lot of great advice on how to quit smoking and picked out the ways I thought would work best for me. I started by setting a quit date. Then I threw out my ashtrays, lighters, and matches. I did other things too, like exercising more, and it worked. But I'd still get cravings, especially on long car rides. To help me with that, I put a picture of my mother in my car. She died of lung cancer from smoking cigarettes when I was only 16. Now I have a 16-year-old daughter. That picture of my mother reminds me that I don't want to miss all the things my daughter is going to do in her life, including turning 17.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
Yeah. And we are back here on the Falcon Spotlight. I'm your host, Rob Flores, here at WPMD Studios, located at Cerritos College, Norwalk, California. And I'm back here with my guest. Now, you were mentioning about, sports and stuff. Tell me about the benefits. I know that you were mentioning about sportsmanship. And sometimes losing and rejection can go hand in hand. Like say, for example, when you're trying to go for a job, sometimes people can get discouraged when, they can't seem to get a job. And sometimes, I think a lot of students, they'll feel discouraged because, they'll try to volunteer, and there may come a time where, you may not have yet the paid experience, but to me, I think volunteer work is just as great, just even though you may not have had a job yet, but I would think volunteering at different organizations and stuff would still look impressive. Tell me about, rejection.
So, I think that's a very important thing. I think, when I first got married, I had never worked in my life. And I struggled, everywhere I went. I thought I knew I could do just about any job that was put before me. But because I didn't have any experience, everybody said, thank you, but no thanks. I had never volunteered in anything. But, one day I decided, let me apply. I'm going to apply for the police department, the fire department, and the U.S. Postal Service. And so I got a call from the PD, and my wife said, no, that's too dangerous. Then I got a call from the fire department. She said, no, that's too dangerous. So when I had the opportunity to work for the U.S. Postal Service, my wife gave me a thumbs up. And of course, I want to make her happy. I don't want her to be worried about anything. But I gained a lot of experience in the fact that I wanted to do things, and I wanted to work in that organization. I pushed myself, and I became one of the youngest supervisors in the U.S. Postal Service, and I was very happy that I was able to do that. But what I learned from that is that sometimes, good people are prevented from getting an opportunity just because they don't have those experiences. So at some point when I was able to get involved in the youth program at Southgate, it's run by volunteers. Everybody's a volunteer. And what I do a lot is I encourage young people, get involved, be a volunteer coach. And whenever I get a chance, where they're going to apply for a job or whatever, I give them a letter of recommendation. Why? Because I know how hard it was for me. And so I want to give back to those young people by giving them letters indicating, look, this young person, this young man or this young woman volunteered their time. These are the things that they learned in the process, which is organizing, learning rules, following directions, that sort of thing. So it kind of gives people an opportunity to, when they go for a job interview, if they don't have any other experience, they say, look, I may not have worked before, I don't have any experience, but I volunteered here. Here's a letter from the president of the Southgate Junior Athletic Association, and it covers a lot of the things that you guys want me to do here. So I think volunteering their time will certainly open some doors for people.
Now, what's it like to work at a post office?
Good question. When I first started working for the post office, I really didn't know what I was getting myself into. I knew it was physical work, but just like anything else, I feel that, if you really want something, you're going to do your very best. And I remember when I first started working at the post office, I had no idea how they sorted the mail. I didn't know that, you had to sort it, put it in order. But very quickly they showed, how things are done. They give you the proper training. They set you out with an employee who's been doing it. They're like on-the-job instructors, and they've been doing it for many years. And they give you they teach you the ropes. And once you start out on the street making your deliveries, people are so friendly for the most part. And if you enjoy it, you're going to do it even that much better. And when I first started, I liked it so much. I remember I used to wear ankle weights. I used to do my route and use it as exercise. I used to put these ankle weights on so that when I would walk, it kind of slowed me down, but it was for the purpose of working out. And so I had fun doing it. And because I was, committed on trying to do the very best that I can, I was never into trying to compare myself to the person to my left or the person to my right or the people that worked there before me. All I cared about is doing the very best that I could. I'm sure there were some people that were better than me, but I know that whenever I went to work, that company was going to get the very best. And it's not just with work. I try to do that in everything. Right now that I'm a coach for the high school, some of the values that I try to pass on to these young ladies is, look, give me your very best. Give me 100%. If at the end we lose the game, the score does not favor us, if you tried your very best, there's nothing to be ashamed of. If you go out and you don't try your best, but you're fortunate enough to win, what is there to be proud of? But that's how I do things, whether it's a job or whether it's the sport or any activity I'm involved in. But yeah, working for the post office was a very interesting thing. And again, the fact that I was able to retire at a young age. I retired when I was 53. I have good retirement, good benefits, and I'm very happy.
Now, after, before, obviously now you're a public official.
Yes.
Tell me about the journey, how you got there.
Okay, so in the city of Southgate, we were experiencing well, I'm trying to be polite here, but I'll just say what it was. It was a corrupt government. The folks that were running the city were obviously violating certain laws. And it's not an opinion. One of them ended up doing 10 years in federal prison. But I was very much involved in the recall process on trying to remove them. And when we were successful in doing that, a lot of people in the community said, hey, why don't you run for city council? And I said, well, I didn't do this for that reason. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm running my youth program. I'm working full-time. I'm married. I've got my kids. And so I'm really not interested in doing it right now. So what we did at that point is we elected other folks to run. And then one of them moved out of the city, so if you don't live in the city, you can't be a city council member. So that left the seat open, and so the folks in our community, once again, were left with a hole to fill. And once again, they approached me, and they asked me if I would run, and once again, I said no. I had phone calls from local pastors and priests and other community leaders, and they said, look, what's the point of getting rid of these corrupt officials if we don't trust, the next person that comes in line? Why don't you just do it? Everybody knows you. So I said, well, tell you what, if you guys can't find anybody else soon, I'll go ahead and do it. Why not? And sure enough, they came back to me and said, we couldn't find anybody, so are you in? And I said, sure. So myself and one of your former guests here, Vice Mayor Bill DeWitt, we ran on a slate together. And basically what it was is, Mr. DeWitt has so much knowledge that I wanted him to run. And he, wasn't really interested in doing that. But he saw in me someone that he felt should be involved in city government. And so he tried to talk me into doing it. So I said to him finally, look, tell you what, you need to be a council member. You need to be there with all your knowledge, all the experience you have. You need to be on the city council. And he said, Gil, I think you need to be on the city council. So it got to the point where I said, look, tell you what, I'll run if you run. And he said, you know what, I'll tell you what, I'll run if you run. So we ran on a slate, and we've been doing that ever since. And we ran 3 elections on the same ticket, and we've done real well. Which, interestingly enough, he's a Republican, and I'm Democrat, so obviously, nobody's perfect. I try to get him to be a Democrat, but he's a Republican. But it is what it is. But we get along just fine. We don't always agree on everything, but we do that very amicably. We agree to disagree, and we move on.
Tell me about some of your favorite, events that happen in your city.
Well, we're getting ready to have our Azalea Festival. Our city flower is the azalea, and every year we have an activity that starts in March. We have events at the park. We have a softball tournament. We have these events where they have these young ladies and young men who learn how to, be like models and stuff. They showcase clothing lines that are from our local businesses, and that place gets packed. Whenever I go, they have so many people going in. I just can't see how they just can't be successful sometime in the future. Young people learning to walk, like they do on the modeling, like the models do, and they do a fantastic job. We have a competition for little girls. They call it Miss Acelita. It's not just going out there and dressing the part, but they have to do some, talent. But the key is that they learn to be in front of an audience and not be afraid. And so there's just a lot of events that go on in our city. And then, of course, we have our Christmas parade every year. And it's been going on now since World War II. It's the Children's Christmas Lane Parade. It used to be televised, but when things started getting a little bit too expensive, we had to cut back, and now they're just televised locally on local cable, which is okay. But I love when we get the opportunity to showcase our city to people outside of the city of South King. But yeah, we have a lot of activities in our city, a very, very active community.
Tell me about commissions.
Okay, so we have various commissions, and council members get to appoint those folks that they feel can do those positions. So, for example, I have a friend of mine who is on the Parks and Rec Commission. I've known him for years. He's always been involved in baseball and softball. He used to coach a team called the Democrats. and they were travel team, and they actually won the Little League World Series a few years ago. And so I found him to be very suitable for that position, and so I appointed him. I have a planning commissioner. He owns a business there in the city of Southgate, and is pretty much involved with the association for the businesses. He was involved with the Chamber of Commerce to a degree, and I found that for that position he met a lot of the qualifications. So again, when we appoint people, we want to make sure that we're appointing folks that can make decisions on their own without me having to tell them what to do. I don't always agree with them, but that's okay. They're not, I'm not a puppet master. I'm not trying to pull people's strings. When I appoint someone, I give them carte blanche, do whatever it is you want, but they have the values that I feel are in line with my values, which are putting the city first and our personal views aside. And I'll give you a good example. I'm vegetarian, and we have a lot of places that open up that serve, meat products. And again, because I love animals so much, the fact that I'm a vegetarian, I don't push my personal, agenda in the way. The people in my community want that, let's give it to them. And that's really how I deal with the commissioners. I spoke to a few folks and got a feel for what they had as far as personal interests, and I made my decisions based on that.
So, what would you say, I know, just like at first you weren't interested in running, but tell me why people should get involved in commissions and stuff, and it's not necessary to necessarily at first right away have experience. You have to kind of give it a shot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what I find, and it happens now, even though I've been on the council for 11 years, I'll have people ask me questions. Look, let me share something that I encountered this morning. As I got up to go pick up my grandson, who my wife and I babysit, while my son and my daughter-in-law go to work, I was listening that there's a decision that's going to be made that the tax on gas is going to go down a little bit. And even though people get excited over that, I'm just wondering if that's really the right thing to do. And the reason I say that is that, you drive down the streets, and what do we have? We have potholes. We have freeways that are outdated. And what I mean by that is we have so much traffic. We might have to do something that, improve public transportation. Well, where do people think we get the money from? It's from the gas tax. So if we're having all these improvements that have to be made, why not say to the voters, look, we have this money that we overcharged. We have a couple of choices here. We can either reduce the gas tax, and that way you benefit from that for some time, or we can use that excess money that we have to make improvements. But instead, someone's going to make a decision to lower the tax, which is